everyone, welcome to Mabi Career Apparel Online Fashion School. Today I'll be teaching you how to draft a half scale basic bodice pattern with side darts. If you're new here, you're welcome. I'd like you to please give this video a thumbs up, like, share, and turn on the notification bell so that whenever I post a new video, you'll be notified. Below this video is a red subscribe button. I'd like you to please consider subscribing. So to draft a half scale basic bodice pattern, we'll be needing the following tools. We'll be needing our tape, our eraser and pencil, our marker, our ruler, and of course our French curve. These are the required measurements for drafting our half scale basic bodice pattern: shoulder measurement, bust measurement, waist measurement, bust span or nipple to nipple measurement, bust point or shoulder to nipple measurement, back half length and front half length. Now the bust and waist measurement will be divided by 4, while the shoulder and bust span measurement will be divided by 2. So let's go straight into the tutorial. I'm going to be drafting the front and back bodies of this pattern at the same time. So to do that, I'm going to divide my bust measurement by 4, and whatever I have, I'm going to add half or 1 inch. You can even add up to 1.5, just so that your pattern don't become too close. So in my own case, when I divided my bust measurement by 4, I had about 9 or 9.1, so I added 1 inch. So by the time I add the 1 inch, I'll be having 10 inches here and another 10 inches here. Then here, this line, the length, I'll use my 16.5, which is the longest half length, which is the front half length, while the back half length will be 15. Remember, our back half length was 15, while our front half length was 16.5. So by the time I take the 15, I'll just rule a line. So this becomes our shoulder line. Let me just abbreviate it. Then this becomes our waistline for the back. This new line here becomes our waistline, while this line remains the waistline for the front. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'll just quickly label my center back so that we'll know which is which. This is our center front. Then since our center front, this will be our front bodice, and this will be our back bodice. So the next thing I'll do now is to take my shoulder measurement, and my shoulder is 15.5. So I'm going to divide 15.5 by 2, which will give me 7.75. So I'll just place that here. So this is my shoulder. Always take it from the center front inward. So for the back shoulder, I'll take it from the center back inward, 7.75. So that's what I've just done. Then I'll take my neckline. I'll be using 3 by 3 for the front. This is a standard. It can be altered depending on what style you are making. Then for the front, I'm doing 3 by 1.5. So I'll just use my French curve now to connect it. So you can see it's coming out very fine. So now I'll do the same thing. I'll place my curve this way and I'll just connect. So you can see it's coming out very fine. So the next thing I'll do now is to slant my shoulder. And for that, I'll just come down for the front 1.5. Then for the back, I'll come down by 1 inch. So I'll just connect a straight line this way, this way. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is to know our shoulder line. Okay, now use the standard, which is 9. That means from here, from the shoulder line, you measure 9. So by the time you slant your shoulder by 1, let me just slant the shoulder already for you to see. So that by the time you slant your shoulder, you'll be having 8 for your chest line. From here to here 9, by the time you slant your shoulder, that's -1 will be 8. Or one of the things I used to do is to use my basic sleeve pattern. This has worked for me several times. I'll just draft a basic sleeve pattern for the client, then I'll measure her round sleeve, the biggest part of her arm. For me, I have 6.5. Why I do this is because this standard, which gives me 8 at the end of the day, is usually big for some clients, because like some of us that have round sleeve of 12.5, the 8 still becomes much. So what I do is to draft the pattern, and then I check the biggest part of the round sleeve and I use it. So now I'm going to place that 6.5 I got from the slants. And then I'll add it to the 1 inch I already have before, which gives me a chest line of 7.5. This is 7.5, you see. So now this same 7.5 I have here, I'll just bring it over to this side, 7.5. Then I'll connect the line. Like this. And like this. Okay. So the next thing I'll do now is to curve my armhole. Okay, to do that, I'm going to divide this 6.5 into 2. So whatever I have 3.25. I'll mark it. Then I'll go inward by ½ inch for the back. I'll do the same thing for the front, 3.25. You see where I'm taking it from? 3.25 this way. Then for the front, I'll go in by 0.75. At times, I even don't go in at all for the back. Then for the front, I go in by ½ inch. But you can just do it this way. This will work for you just fine. So in order to get this armhole perfectly, I'll have to insert my bust measurement, which is 7 divided by 4. That's 9. So I'll place 9 here. And I'll mark. I'll do the same thing for the back. So this is 9. So I'll place my curve this way. And I'll connect the line. I'll connect it. And I'll come to the front and do the same thing. You see? So in order to connect this part, I can just use my ruler. Do the same here. So having done that, the next thing I'm going to do now is to take my shoulder to nipple line. My shoulder to nipple here on my measurement is 10. So I'll take 10 again, just to have a straight line. Now this line is not going to get to the back. because we don't have bust at our back. So this line is going to end here, shoulder to nipple line. So I'll just indicate SN. On my shoulder to nipple line, I'll put my nipple to nipple measurement. My nipple to nipple measurement is 7. 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. So I'll just come here and put 3.5. So I'll come down here also and put 3.5. Then I'll connect a straight line, but that straight line is going to stop 1 inch before my nipple point. This way. So I'm already creating the dart. So I'm going to have ½ inch here and another ½ inch by the other side. So I'll just connect. So now that I've done the dart, for the front, this is my waistline. So I'm going to put my waistline measurement, and my waist is 31 divided by 4, which will give me 7.75. So this is 7.75. But because there's a dart here, I'm going to add 1 inch here to return this 1 inch dart that will be going away. So the next thing I'll do now is to connect the line. So this is my bust measurement and this is my waist measurement here. So I'll just connect the line. So the next thing I'm going to do now for the front is to create my bust dart. And my bust dart, how am I going to get my bust dart? The difference between my front and back, which is 1.5, is what will form my bust dart. It's going to be the measurement for my bust dart. Okay. Now I'm going to mark 1 inch. Then my dart will stop 1 inch before the nipple point, this way. So I can decide to leave it this way, and I can decide to divide the 1.5 by 2. I'm getting 0.75. Then I'll mark it and connect it to the nipple point again, this way. So I've just created my bust dart. You must always make sure that the difference between your front and back bodies is what makes up your side bust dart, which is this 1.5 here. If you check, you see I have 1.5 here and I have the same 1.5 here. So that's it for the front. So I'll go over to the back and I'm going to mark ½ inch here and connect this ½ inch to touch my chest line. Sorry, I didn't label it. Let me just quickly label it. This becomes my chest line. So now connect this ½ inch here to touch my chest line. On the new line I just made, I'll take my 3.5. The same thing you have on your nipple to nipple or bust point. You take the same thing here, 3.5. So now in order to have a straight line, I'll measure everything here, that's 4. Then I'll come to the chest line and measure another 4, just to have a straight line. But the line is going to stop 1 inch before the chest line. This way. So I'll still take ½ inch here and another ½ inch here to form the back dart. Now draw this way. Okay, now I've just done the back dart, so I'll take my waist measurement now from here after the 1/2 inch, and my waist measurement is 7.75. So I'll return this 1 inch back here, and then I'll connect the line to my bust measurement. Now you may be wondering why I took away this 1/2 inch. This 1/2 inch is going to be going away because it's going to help us eliminate our back puff so that the back area lies flat. So now I'm going to cut out this pattern, but before I do that, I'm going to add 1/2 inch after the bust dart. Then I'll just do something like this and connect it to the bust measurement, so that when I cut it out, I won't be having any shortage around this side. So this is our front and back bodies. At the beginning of this tutorial, I told you that my front half length is 16.5 and my back is 15. That's the reason why you have this difference here. And this is because as humans, our back is usually flat and straight, while the front is usually curvy and full. But with the help of this bust dart, we'll be able to make the sides align. By the time I take off this bust dart by folding it in this way, this is going to be sewn at the end of the day. So by the time I take this away, you see that this has now aligned. As you can see, this has aligned. So this is how to go about your half scale basic bodice pattern. And of course, this dart will also be going away. Let me just quickly fold it so that you see how the front will become. You can use your sellotape to sellotape this, or you can use your pin to just pin this down. So let me just quickly pin it down for you to see how it's going to look like. So as you can see, It's already forming the bust area because of the darts at the side and at the waist, and the sides, the two sides of the front and the back are aligning. Now looking at this pattern, you notice that it has no seam allowances at all. So you are going to add your seam allowance at the shoulder, at least ½ inch on both the front and back block, then at the waist area at least ½ inch, then by the side, please at this side always make sure that it's still laying flat. Make sure you take your seam allowance before holding your dart. You give at least 2 inches seam allowance at this side and at the other side. Then it's going to be where our zip will be, and you should have at least 1.5 inches seam allowance at that side. So this brings us to the end of this tutorial. If you've enjoyed this tutorial, I'd like you to give this video a thumbs up, like, share with your friends and loved ones, and also don't forget to subscribe. Until I come your way next time, bye bye.